Hey everybody, DM Jim here, and welcome to another episode of Game Terrain Engineering. This episode, I am going to be doing a test, and let me explain that. If you will take a look at this video right here, this is Jeremy over at Black Magic Crafts episode on making what he calls, I think he calls them dungeon stackers, okay? If you take a look at this episode, this is DM Scotty's version of the stackers. In both cases, two of our craft leaders have come up with the stackable blocks or interchangeable blocks that you can use to create all kinds of structures. They're big, they're bulky, they're, well, relatively speaking, they're designed to create tall structures, floors, whatever you can think of, really. But they're very basic, okay? Almost like using building blocks to create a dungeon or what have you. Now, for some time, and I do apologize for the noise in the background, and I'll explain why my 3D printer is going crazy right now. For some time now, I've been wanting to make some of these, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet until just recently, a Thingiverse user who I follow, his username is sablebadger, S-A-B-L-E-B-A-D-G-E-R, one word. I'll put a link in the description below to his Thingiverse page. Sablebadger creates a lot of different 3D models for different games, and he makes them available on Thingiverse for free download so you can go print them. And recently he has released his own version of the stacker blocks on Thingiverse, and I went ahead and I printed one. Printing another one over there. This is just the basic block, okay? He has others like this, different versions. There's one that's a set of 4 steps. There's another one that it's steps, but it shrinks to a corner. It goes like 4 and then 3 and then 2 and then 1. Hard to describe, but you know what? I'll put a picture right here. Take a look at that. That's those are the different models that he's offering right now, and I think he's got more coming. But anyway, I printed this. It took 3.5 hours. This is at draft quality, and this is at 10% infill, which means it's basically hollow, okay? And it's still got some heft to it. It's perfect. If I print a second one, it'll butt up right against this and make a nice, join. And it looks good. The texture on it, the bricks, now it's not painted, but the brick pattern on it is very uneven. It makes it look more realistic. And the top pattern here, can you see that? It looks good. There isn't a 1-inch grid on this. And the reason being is he designed these for the game Frostgrave. And for those of us who play Frostgrave, you don't really use the 1-inch grids. You actually use a ruler to measure out the movement of your little miniatures. But he created these so that he could quickly throw on a bunch of terrain on a tabletop and play a game of Frostgrave, and I'm all into that. Like for me, I want it to be useful for Frostgrave and for Dungeons & Dragons or whatever I have need for it. But what happened was I printed this and it took 3.5 hours. And granted, that's not bad. It's a nice design, and I definitely will be printing more. Not disappointed in this, but it occurred to me that if you don't have a 3D printer, this is one of those prime examples where a 3D printer is not necessarily the best solution. In 3.5 hours of printing one of these, I made 11 of these, okay? I don't know if you can see it. There we go. And I did grid these. Now, there's a slight size difference. These are 4-inch square and 2 inches tall. As you can see, his are a little different dimensions there, okay? But I made 11 of these, and none of it's painted. Now, granted, it's not going to take long to paint one of these, but it will take a while to paint 11 of these. But I'm talking about the construction. While this thing was being printed, I just decided, it was probably about 15 minutes into the print job, and I realized it was going to take a while. And I just looked over at my Proxxon wire cutter, and I had some foam, and I just decided, let's see what I can do. So I just started cutting. And I don't know why I stopped at 11. Actually, I made 12, but I ruined one. That's why I have 11. So I made 12 of them, and I got it all the way to the unpainted, it's all textured and aluminum foil and the grid lines and some chunks cut out of it. All this was done on 11 of them before this even finished printing. It was about 15 minutes left on this. Right now the printer is going on a different one. It's going on a set of stairs. It's about 50% done. Okay, it's supposed to be a 2.5 hour print job. 50% done, and I've already made 8 of these. This is what I'm printing right now. 8 of these. These are textured already with aluminum foil, grid lines cut, and you know, they're just the glues. I'm waiting on the glue to dry. So my point here is, if you don't have a 3D printer, if you do have one, these are great. I mean, I'm going to be printing these in, you know, I'll fill these in when I need. I'll start a print job when I go away, or maybe at night or something. And over time, I'll have a nice little stack of these. But, you know, if you don't have a 3D printer, if you set aside 2 or 3 hours, you can come away with a dozen or more of these. Right now, it's about 1.5 hours. You could come away with 8 or more of these. And I've got some of the, I'm going to be doing some of his other versions as well. I'm not doing this to put down the work that Sablebadger has done. I love these. I think they just look too cool. And I imagine painted, they're going to look even better. But 3.5 hours is a long time to print one. It'll take longer if I wanted to print them at a higher quality. So anyway, what I'm going to do in this video is I'm just going to show you some time lapse of the print process, and then side by side with me making these, just to show you that you can, without a 3D printer, you can make a substantial amount of the stacker type terrain in not too long of a time. Honestly, if you took a Saturday, I know most people don't want to devote their whole Saturday to making terrain, but based on the speed that I'm moving here, I could easily build up, not counting paint time, but I could easily build up 30, well, let's see, that's 12, or that's 11 plus 8, that's almost 20 right there. I could probably build up 40 to 50 pieces of various shapes and stuff of my stackers in the time it took me to print the 4 different versions of these blocks. So enough talk, let's get to the video and let me show you what I've done, and then I'll come back and show you some examples of these painted. My software estimates that it's going to take 3.5 hours to print that at 10% infill. Over here, this is where I'll be doing the printing. It's going to get started in just a second. This one right here, the block. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm starting this at, I don't know what time it is, but you'll see there's a counter here, 1 for under 1 minute. I am going to let this run, and while it's running, I am going to come over here and using this piece of foam, it's 1 inch, I am going to use this to see how many of those I can make unpainted, and I'll be using my Proxxon foam cutter. $11 of these are cut, and I've also got the sides with the foam wire cutter. I got the 1/2 inch marks made that I'll apply this grid later, and now I've got them glued. And if I come over here, 35 minutes, and that's the progress for one of these. So I'm doing pretty good. Now the glue drying, I'm not sure how long that's going to take, but I'm going to go ahead and give those maybe half an hour to an hour, and then I'll start on the texturing and the grid work. All right, I have 11 of these. They are now textured on the side. I'm still trying to think of whether I'm going to grid the top and bottom or not. 11 of these, and going on an hour and 29 minutes, and it's at this point. Now remember, this is going to be 2 inches high, so it's almost halfway done. Well, it says 38%, but there you go. All right, I have 11 of these done. The only thing I'm gonna do extra to them once the glue dries is I'm gonna take a blade and I'm just gonna chip away bits and pieces, kind of like I did this one right here. 11 of those done. 2 hours, 40 minutes. This one's almost done. It's at 76%, and it's working on that last level or last layer of bricks, and then it'll do the top. Now, my software tells me that one of these will take approximately 2.5 hours. And as you can see, I've just got started. It took about a minute to heat up, so it's really only been running for about a minute and a half. And as you can see, it's just getting started. So we've got a long way to go here. 0%, 3 minutes, and as you can see, 2.5 hours. Whenever I save a file to 3D print, I always append the estimated time on the end, because later, down the road, I want to print some more. This just helps me remember, how long it takes, so I can plan accordingly. I will often leave my 3D printer going when I'm not here. I use this camera right here, you can see it's on, to keep an eye on it, and then of course the power plug is plugged into this device right here, which I can control through my phone. So when I'm out and about, not at the house, I can use the app for the camera, and if I see that there are problems with my 3D printer, I can use another app to kill the power here, which turns the power off to the 3D printer. It works great. Okay, 20 tiles, 4x4s. They're all textured. One side is not, because these are going to be stairs, and there'll always be one bottom. I guess I could go the extra mile and do it just in case, but I don't anticipate using these upside down. They'll always be flat. I guess I could go this way, but that wouldn't look right. 10 tiles will make 4 sets of stairs. I've got 20 tiles, so that's 8. So what I need to do is I need to set aside 8 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those will be the 4-inch by 4-inch pieces. Okay. Next thing I need to do is I need 8 2-inch pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these will be my 2x2s. And the remainders will be my 3s and 1s. And there should be 8 of these, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 and a 1, 3 and a 1, 3 and a 1, 3 and a 1. All right, 8 sets of stairs, glued, textured. I don't have the brick pattern on the sides or on the steps yet. That will come after the glue dries a little bit better. But 8 of these, and only 33 minutes into this. Let's just say 43 minutes, because like I said, it took me about 10 minutes to pre-cut those. So for these last two of sablebadger's blocks, I'd like to point out that you can see that this is an inverse of this. So really, all I need to do, see that 1 inch by 1 inch cutout there? It goes there. And this 2 inch by 2 inch is there. And then this 3 by 3 is there. So technically, all I need is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of the 4 by 4 blocks, ½ inch, will make one each of these. All right, 4 of this kind and 4 of that kind. Let me go over here and show you where I stand. An hour and 10 minutes, only 15% done on these. And I've managed to do 4 of each type. I could probably do another 4, and I may do an additional 4 later on, but right now I just don't know how many of these I need. And 4 seems to be a fair thing. I could make, I could do stuff like this. Let me show you. Move these out of the way. I could make, you know, pillars like that. It's interesting. I could do, let's see, what's this one? Down there. A little bit of a gap in there. This one was cut a little wonky, but that's all right. That's pretty slick. I like that. A lot of things I can do with these, plus with those other 2 types. And what I'm going to do now while I'm finishing up on the print job there, I'm going to take 1 each of these once the glue dries on these 2, and I'm going to paint them up just so you see what they look like after the fact. Okay, printing is all done. Here is the basic block that sablebadger released. Here is what he calls a corner step, and the matching piece that's sort of its inverse. These can actually sort of, they don't really stack exactly, but they're close enough. These are really nice. I really like how these printed. And then the final one is just the basic set of stairs here. These are, like I said, the detail on them is really nice. They've got a nice heft to them. If you have a 3D printer and you are not interested in taking, you know, ½ inch foam and making, you know, these kind of blocks, then definitely you want to look at these. They are, they look good. They go well together. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. I'll take some close-up photos and put them at the end of this episode. So those are the 4 basic shapes that I downloaded from Sable, and these are my takes on it. So you've seen the basic one, and here it is painted. Okay, I don't know if you can see that or not. Black, then a dark gray, and then a light gray, and then I did light gray all around the edges for some highlighting. Here is my corner piece and the matching piece right here. Okay. And again, I'll take photos of these close up so you can see the detail. And then here are my basic steps. Now, painting didn't take a long time for these 4 pieces. I put black on, it dried in like 15 minutes. The sponge painting dries even faster. But I have a lot. That's just 2 stacks. Here's 2 more stacks. So I have a lot of pieces. Let's see, it was 11 and 8 and 8, 16, plus I had 27 pieces in all. Oh, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. Right there. Plus what I have. And if these look weird, it's because they're stacked. Okay, see, I'm just putting them in there like that to save space. So 27 pieces in all. Total print time, oh, I should have done this before I started talking. Let's see, it was 5.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. Let's just roughly estimate it, 369. It's about 15 to 16 hours of total printing, give or take an hour or so. Versus, you know, I mean, didn't take as long. But again, it all depends on what you have available. If you have a 3D printer, but you're not interested in working with foam, that's the way to go, these type blocks. If you don't have a 3D printer, but you can get a sharp knife, some paint, and some 1/2-inch foam, this is what you want to possibly do. If you have both options like I do, go crazy. I intend to print some more of Sable's just because I like they have a unique look to them, and I think he's going to be doing more variations of it. If he's not, that's probably going to put a little pressure on him. Come on, Sable, do it. Anyway, I hope you liked this. I basically just, my goal with this video is to just show you that, look, if you don't have a 3D printer, don't worry about it. Sometimes a 3D printer is not going to save you time. Time-wise, you know, in the time it took to print just this device, just this one, I had 12 of these, minus the one I messed up, 12 of these done and ready to go. Now granted, these will take time to paint, but so will this. This won't take as long, but painting never bothers me. I just do it in batch. So anyway, let's see, what else do I have for you? Oh yeah, just a friendly reminder for those of you who may be considering attending MACE, M-A-C-E, Mid-Atlantic Con Expo, I can't remember. If you are intending or considering coming, just to remind you, I will be DMing a table with DM Scotty, V from the Crafting Muse, and Bill or William of Wylock's Armory. We also are setting aside 3 additional chairs to be auctioned off, so I'll have a total of 6 players. And I promise you, what I have planned for Scotty, V, and William and my 3 players is going to be something else. Something hopefully that you've not seen before. I'm about halfway through the planning process, still got a couple months, but it's going to be awesome. If you can't join us, don't worry. V has said that she is going to do her best to try and stream it, which will be a first for me. I've never had one of my games streamed. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. We'll have some more information about it as we get closer. MACE is in the first part of November. I think it's the 5th, 6th, and 7th. Don't hold me to that. I'll put a link in the description below if you want more information. Anyway, I'm tired. I'm ready to go to bed. I will see you in the next episode. Take care.